A mermaid, a prince, a love that goes beyond the sea. That's the story many of us grew up with. But the truth behind The Little Mermaid is much darker, sadder, and more personal than most people know. Hans Christian Andersen's original story, written in 1837, wasn't just about love, it was about pain, identity, and silent heartbreak. It reflected his own struggles, hidden under layers of fairy tale magic. To understand the real story, we have to dive deeper beyond the fairy tale, beyond the myths, into the dark heart of the sea. The real story of the Little Mermaid. Far below the ocean's surface, in a quiet underwater kingdom, lived a young mermaid. She was curious, dreamy, and longed for something more than her life in the sea. Her favourite treasure was a statue of a human boy. She often imagined the world above the sun, the breeze, and the feeling of walking on land. On her 15th birthday, she was finally allowed to swim to the surface. There, she saw a ship with a handsome prince on board. A storm hit and the ship sank. The mermaid saved the prince and brought him to shore. But when he woke up, he saw another woman nearby and thought she had saved him. The mermaid quietly returned to the sea, heartbroken. Later, she learned something shocking. Humans have souls that live on after death. Mermaids don't. When they die, they turn into sea foam and disappear forever. Now, she didn't just want the prince. She wanted a soul, a way to live forever. Desperate, the mermaid went to the sea witch, a scary, powerful creature who lived in the darkest part of the ocean. The sea witch gave her a deal, a potion that would turn her tail into legs so she could live on land. But there was a price. Every step she took would feel like walking on sharp knives. And even worse, she had to give up her voice. If the prince fell in love with her and married her, she'd get a soul. But if he married someone else, she would die and turn to sea foam. The mermaid agreed. The witch cut out her tongue. She drank the potion and collapsed on the beach. When she woke up, she had legs and was in terrible pain. A love that was never hers. The prince found her on the beach and was amazed by her beauty. She couldn't speak, but he let her stay by his side. She danced for him, smiled for him, and silently followed him everywhere, even though every step hurt her deeply. But he didn't love her. He loved the woman he believed had saved him. And when it came time to marry, he chose that woman. That night, the mermaid sisters rose from the sea. They had cut off their long hair and traded it to the sea witch for a knife. They gave it to the mermaid and said, "If you kill the prince and let his blood touch your feet, you can become a mermaid again and live." She took the knife and went to his room, but she couldn't do it. She loved him too much. She becomes something else. Her body turned into foam, but she didn't disappear. Instead, she rose into the sky, surrounded by glowing spirits called the Daughters of the Air. Because she chose kindness over killing, they gave her a second chance. If she spent 300 years doing good deeds for people, she could earn a soul. She was no longer a mermaid, not a human either, just something in between a spirit, floating between two worlds. The story behind the story. This story wasn't just a fantasy. It was personal for Hans Christian Andersen. He was a talented writer, but also very lonely. He fell in love with a man named Edvard Collin. But Edvard didn't feel the same. Andersen wrote him passionate letters like, "I long for you as though you were a beautiful girl." But Edvard rejected him. Andersen was crushed. The mermaid story is just like his. She gave up everything for love. She suffered in silence. And in the end, she didn't get the one she loved. Neither did Andersen. He lived in a time when he couldn't talk openly about who he really was. Like the mermaid, he had no voice. Why we still believe in mermaids. Why do these stories last so long? Maybe it's because mermaids are just like the sea, beautiful, mysterious, and dangerous. They pull us in with wonder and fear. The Little Mermaid isn't just a fairy tale. It's about wanting to be loved, about giving everything to belong, about suffering in silence. It's about that deep human feeling, the need to be seen, to be understood, and to matter.